The information I'm going to present to you in this video might lead you to the conclusion that Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves have no idea how to grow the UK economy. Now, I like to be polite and respectful, even if I'm here on Black Belt Secrets giving you my personal opinions. But to put this another way, you might say that he hasn't got a clue and wouldn't know what the solutions are if they were staring him in the face. Now, as I said, we're here on Black Belt Secrets, so these are purely my opinions, you understand. I was in two minds as to which channel to do this on, so please do subscribe here. I have another milestone of 200,000 subscribers here for Secrets, so please do subscribe here. So let me tell you what I'm talking about here. So I read from the BBC that Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves together have written to regulators, more about them in just a minute, regulators asking them to come up with ideas for growth that could boost the economic growth within the UK. Now, let me talk about the letter a little bit first of all. It says here, this is reading from the BBC. You can go and read it for yourself in full to form your own opinions if you so wish. But the letter reportedly says that it's been sent to the Environment Agency, the Financial Conduct Authority, the healthcare regulators, etc., signed by Rachel Reeves and the business secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, saying that they believe that collaboration is essential to ensure the regulatory environment became more pro-growth and pro-investment while respecting the independence of regulators. Now, do you see the problem there? They want a collaboration which maintains the independence of regulators. More about that in a minute. The letter said that it's improving regulation to enable growth and not hold back investment was an essential part of the government's growth mission. The FCA responded and said, yeah, we'll get to that in the new year. Now, just a quick word on regulators first of all. Let me move over to my notes here. I did make notes for this one, not a script, just notes. Now, there's a few things that I need to point out here. Now, I don't want to turn this into a lecture, but this is Secrets, after all, my opinions, and I do base my opinions on real thoughts. My opinions are thus. Now, the purpose of regulators and regulations, just bear in mind, just if that wasn't obvious enough, these letters have been sent to the regulators. The regulators' purpose primarily is to oversee compliance, enforce laws, and protect public interests within specific sectors, maintaining that all of their professionals that are regulated professionals comply with the rules and the regulations that are set to protect consumers, ultimately, and stick with policy and for safety and health and everything else. For example, we have a regulator. It's the Bar Standards Board, regulates barristers. So we have a handbook, we call it, which is fairly extensive, that we have to comply with. If we breach that handbook, then the regulator can take us to tribunal for a breach of the handbook and discipline us and sanction us and so on. The Bar Standards Board, I'd like to think that I get on well with the Bar Standards Board. I've had the director, Mark Neal, on Black Belt Barrister before now on my channel, my main channel, as I call it. Now, I'd like to think that I get on with the Bar Standards Board. I know that they are there to regulate and so on. Not everyone gets on with the Bar Standards Board. And indeed, the Bar Standards Board takes a lot of people to tribunals for various things. Now, the Bar Standards Board, not that I profess to speak for them, I don't, but the Bar Standards Board is not there to grow the legal profession. That's not their job. Their job there is to regulate the industry. Now, they might try to balance growth within the bar and access to legal services and so on, but that is not the principal job. The principal purpose for any regulator is to oversee compliance, enforce laws, and ensure that people and industries are complying with those regulations. It's more of a protective mandate, and the idea is that they must remain neutral and objective and detached from government influence. Now, government influence on the regulations themselves is another matter, but in the way that the regulators operate, and bearing in mind those regulators will be full of people that are obviously drafting up these regulations and brainstorming these regulations and what is best to protect those industries. That is what they are there for. Ergo, there is an inherent conflict of interest for the government to ask the regulators for ideas to support growth, because obviously removing all compliance would be massive growth, because then everybody, let's say that the banking industry was no longer regulated at all. Everybody could set up a bank and the growth would be huge, but so would too the risk to individual consumers. So obviously it is regulated. If consumer credit was suddenly no longer regulated at all, then there'd be huge growth. And I'll give you an example. There's a very narrow area of a form of credit that is not regulated. It escapes regulations. That being where you've probably seen this buy now, pay later schemes, where you can have it now, but you pay in 3 or 4 payments or whatever over 3 or 4 months. That is not regulated in the same sense as a typical loan that has interest and everything else. So there is a growth area in that niche type of lending, because there are fewer regulations. So there is an inherent conflict of interest between demanding or even asking for ideas for growth from the regulator, whose job it is to maintain that safe environment. Now, not only that, they will not be experienced in the growth strategy in the same way that anybody else would. And I could go on and on and on about all of these things, but there are so many reasons why regulators are probably not the correct bodies to be providing these ideas for growth, that I could do an hours long video just talking about that, but that would get right into a regulatory based video and you probably wouldn't be that interested. But now let's talk about why I say that this could be staring Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves in the face, and they are either just refusing to see it or too stubborn to see it. Now, Elon Musk, for example, was reported to be snubbed from the recent investment summit on September-October time. Now, they denied it, saying that, well, he doesn't normally come to these things, so we didn't expect that he'd be interested along those lines. Well, in fact, I think he did feel snubbed because he wasn't invited. Now, obviously, he's shown an interest in the UK. Now, not everybody likes Elon Musk. I get that. You know, some people are absolute fans and some people really don't like him. And there's on the spectrum. And I'm sure he understands that and he probably doesn't care. But let's take Elon Musk as the example, having shown an interest in the UK. Now, not only is Elon Musk's personal net worth estimated to be between, and this is actually using one of Elon Musk's, unironically, using one of his own platforms here, using Grok 2, I said, research and calculate Elon Musk's personal net worth and each of Elon Musk's companies' turnover and net worth, and how long it would take based on 2024 tax contributions for an individual in the UK earning 150k a year to accumulate Elon Musk's personal net worth. Now, this tells me, with references to various news sources, that his personal net worth is somewhere between 439 and 455 billion US dollars. Have you any idea how much, call it $440 billion is? Because it is such a massive number that most people probably cannot even fathom what that really represents. So I thought I would ask Grok to come up with how long would it take, excuse the spelling mistakes because I just banged this in and there's no correction whatsoever. How long would it take based on 2024 tax contributions for an individual in the UK earning 150k a year to accumulate his personal net worth? Now, I'm looking at this for the first time. I'm reading it out live. It says an annual income of 150k a year, the tax rate assuming simplified tax scenario for 2024, etc. I haven't looked at this, so don't shoot down in the comments if it's all wrong, but it's going to be roughly right. Net worth to match 439 billion using the lower estimate. Conversion to pounds, annual savings. The time required would be 3.5 million years. On today's tax rates, earning £150,000 a year. It would take you 3.5 million years to personally accumulate that amount of money. And that is assuming, of course, no change in earnings, no change in tax rates, no investment returns, nothing to significantly change anything at all. And that's 150,000 a year. It would take you 3.5 million years, according to Grok just now, to accumulate. So given his net worth and the companies that he runs, including Tesla. So I've asked it to give me a summary of Tesla here. Reported revenue of approximately 96.8 billion in 2023. Net worth of Tesla, $1.3 trillion. SpaceX, not publicly disclosed as significant contracts with NASA, etc., but an estimated net worth of around 350 billion. Based on insider share sale, whatever. An X Corp, formerly Twitter, if you insist, turnover after acquisition in 2022. Exact revenue figures are not publicly detailed, but it's reported to be struggling with profitability. But still, a net worth valued less than the purchase price, suggested around $13 billion as of August 2024. So I don't think he's worried, frankly, about any of this. XAI, because it's new, no specific revenue, but investors at AI had estimated $50 billion in November 2024. Now, then you've got Neuralink, the boring company, and everything goes on. Now, the purpose of all that is, not only would it take me too long to research all that myself, I dare say it's probably mostly accurate, if not completely accurate, based on at least up-to-date resources that it's got access to. Grok gives me that summary. Now, the purpose of all that is, if we now have reports that Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves and whoever else are penning a letter to regulators that regulate these industries in the UK, asking for how do we grow the economy. Now, it would be obvious to reach out to someone such as Elon Musk, who's shown an interest in the UK. Okay, he's been critical of the UK as well. We're not all immune to criticism. I've had enough criticism in the comments myself, and I'm big enough to ignore it. And on occasion, I'll take it on board when someone says, try not doing this and try doing that. And, once or twice I put music over the background when I'm talking. Someone said, a few people said, we don't like that. Don't do that again. So I thought, actually, on balance, yeah, probably more people don't like music than like the music. So I take that on board. So although Elon Musk has been critical of certain things about the UK over the last year or so, that doesn't mean that his interest is not of extreme value and should be of extreme interest to the government of the UK. Now, equally, there are a lot of people that say, we shouldn't have any outside influence whatsoever. But if that's the case, why are we then pushing to have closer ties with Europe? Since Brexit, now, for those of you that will scream, you're, Brexiteer and so on, I wasn't. I voted Remain, actually, if you must know. And I think Brexit could have been handled much, much better. It could have worked. It could have been successful. But actually, I think in many ways it's been a bit of a disaster, quite frankly. But I have mixed views. And so there you go. So there's obviously, you're here for my personal opinions. So please do subscribe for my personal opinions if you want them to keep flowing. But if that were a valid argument, then why are we insisting on building closer ties with the rest of Europe when, as it stands, despite giving France hundreds of millions of dollars to prevent illegal boat crossings, they still keep coming. Hundreds and thousands over the last weeks or so have arrived in the UK illegally. Clearly, that's not working out very well. I cannot imagine that forging closer ties with France and the rest of Europe, unless they really do these things that we're paying them to do and they've agreed to do, unless they actually do those things, I can't see that those closer ties are going to be much better unless we get a good deal, which we won't, because since Brexit, doubtless they are going to say, well, you said Brexit, so, if you want to come back, it's going to be on our terms now, which if it's now everything is going to be on their terms now, it's not going to be probably as good as it was before. Perhaps. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Obviously, I'm not the one at the negotiating table, so I don't know. But it stands to reason that if you want to work with someone to get ideas for better growth, why not go to someone that's shown an interest in the UK, that has clearly demonstrated that they can amass such personal wealth that would take an individual on 150k a year 3.5 million years to accumulate. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. And so I ended up doing this on Secrets because you can see that we end up in so many tangents and segues that I end up giving you my opinions on various things, and it'd be impossible to do properly and do it with justice without doing that. And of course, my learned friend Alan Robert Shaw on Art of Law, yes it rhymes, said that he'd missed secrets videos in the last week or two. So here's a secrets video. So go check him out and subscribe. I'm really pleased that his channel is blowing up and is growing now. But this absolutely blows my mind that they are writing to regulators for ideas to grow the economy that depend so much on the regulation that those regulators are regulating. I can't fathom that. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think it's a bit ridiculous. I use the word ridiculous quite a bit lately, it seems, but it seems that so much is so ridiculous. You literally cannot make this up. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and thank you as always for watching.